Okay. So welcome to Complete Culture Change. We're very excited to bring this initiative to help everyone get back on track with this COVID pandemic situation where we all found ourselves in and have a lot of dilemma on our mind because it's very difficult, and we're all wondering how we're going to, how our lives are going to be after this, from a financial point of view, economy, from a health point of view. So that's why Firuzi and I decided to, join forces and support organizations and their culture. That means not only the organization itself to improve their sales and profits, but also the employees to reduce absenteeism, reduce costs like insurance costs, and obviously improve productivity. So that's my small introduction. So let's get back right into it. I do advise that whoever's on the call today, want to grab a piece of paper and pen, because we're going to give a lot of value, and that's why we're here today. We're going to give you a lot of information, a lot of value, you might find a couple of aha moments that you want to write down, or maybe even a question that you want to ask us at the end of the session. All right, so here we go. So there's so much. Okay. All right. So why the COVID crisis actually is ideal to improve your complete culture change. And we're going to discuss that. Beyond the fear and beyond seeing this big mountain of problem, there's actually learnings that we could take, understandings and solutions that we want to discuss with you and have you ponder upon today. So we're going to show you this 3-step formula that's working for us and for many to not only transform your organization's complete culture change for healthier profits and for your employees, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to wait a sec. I'm seeing a lot of people joining us today right now. To go ahead, grab a piece of paper and pen, and we're going to start. All right. So imagine this scenario. What if you can prevent and reverse any unpredictable epidemic with this one formula? What do I mean by that? I mean, we found ourselves in COVID-19 without a choice. Nobody asked us to join this pandemic, right? So it's unfortunate, and it's giving us, it's making us very vulnerable in our health, in our well-being, and in our organization. So we want to we want to give you and teach you something right now that you could actually take and utilize.
Okay. So sorry, Hanan, I think people on YouTube who are joining us through YouTube are not able to see you. Is your video on?
Yeah, my video's on.
Okay, so apparently people who've joined through YouTube are not able to see you.
Oh, that's strange. I'm right here. Let me see. Nope.
Okay, carry on. It's okay. Nothing we can do.
Yeah. So what if you were able to turn the key to thrive instead of just survive during this crisis? What if you can bulletproof your business, de-risk any vulnerability in any unpredictable epidemic like the one we're experiencing right now? What if you can decrease absenteeism, increase insurance costs, decrease insurance costs, and increase productivity, focus, and energy of the employees? Sounds like a stretch? Actually, myself and Firuzi were able to implement this framework for ourselves, and I myself was able to launch 2 businesses during this crisis. I kept myself and my family health and well-being protected, as well, and as Firuzi, you could even share, she'll be speaking in a minute, her experience while using this framework as well. So it's very, the internet, by the way, is very slow. Can you see the slides move?
Yes.
You could see it. Because it's
The
not.
next one.
It's moving, the slides?
We are on the first point.
Ah, okay. It's very strange. Okay, here we come. So like I mentioned, I already spoke about this. In the last 60 days, we've been able to use and implement this 3-step process, not only to keep ourselves healthy, but also to succeed in launching quite a couple of interesting programs and businesses, okay? So without further ado, we want to get into understanding what we mean by complete culture change. Okay. But before we do that, I want to introduce ourselves. Why are we the experts that are bringing you this information today? And we'll start off with Firuzi. Firuzi, introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Dr. Hanan. So it's my pleasure and it's an honor to partner with Dr. Hanan, who's very, very recognized. And I think you'll hear a little bit more about her profile a little later. But personally, I'm a global speaker. I'm also on the board of directors of Global GRC, and I'm a founder of 3 businesses, 3 main businesses. But apart from that, I have about other 2-3 businesses that I kind of run also. My only advice to companies and to corporates as an entrepreneur and as the owner and founder of businesses is that it's a bit like that saying which says when the going is tough, the tough get going. So this is the time I think a lot of people are succumbing to the pressure that, times are tough. But my sincere suggestion to corporates would be, this is a time for you to toughen up to battle with these tough times, right? And one of the biggest area that you could actually look into right now is what we're helping companies with is the culture, right? Because the culture is completely changed. We're not used to working the way we used to even 2 months ago. Agile working was not a part of a lot of organizations. So a lot of organizations are struggling. Sales teams are struggling to see how can we close, how can we sell. Managers are struggling to see how can we manage and make sure people are really active, motivated, and stuff like that. So with the entire pandemic that's happening at the moment, I think a lot of companies seem to be falling apart. But in my view, I think this is a time to become tough and to overcome those challenges. And this is a perfect time to review your culture and to move into the desired state of the new culture that you are hoping to achieve by the end of this pandemic. So whenever we come out of it.
Excellent. So my name is Dr. Hanan Selim. I'm actually an international speaker. I'm an multi-award-winning author. I'm recognized by the global health and wellness gurus as the most influential thought leader in healthcare and wellness. And actually written a book about something called the mind-brain-organ connection. And it's been actually a futuristic review from a lot of the people who have read it. And they're very amazed how what I have in the book is something called the mind and health hacks. Simple things that you could implement that doesn't take a lot of time from your daily lives, but has a huge impact. And one of those things are to stop chronic body disruption. And that actually exists not only on an individual level, but in an organizational level, where there's actually things that are happening that we need to find and clear that's going to take away the limitations in your profits, in your sales, those gaps that we're going to be talking more about during this presentation. So what we need actually is a complete culture change, and we start with having you understand that you understand where you are in your culture. because unfortunately, the issue is not the type of culture that you have, is not understanding what culture you have, how you got that culture, and why it became, why you having all these undercurrent issues that I spoke about a minute ago. So, Firuzi, you could explain some of the benchmarking we're talking about for the culture change.
Yes, so I deal with a lot of large multinationals and a lot of large corporates, and one of the things which is the most neglected area at the moment that they don't look at is the culture. And I personally believe when I work with my organizations, with my clients, I tell them that what the stakeholders or shareholders expect as culture is not really what you always see in the organization, because culture is made up of people, and people are made up of mindsets. So what is the kind of mindset is that, that you promote, that you kind of encourage in your organization, but also what your top management team thinks and acts like is really, really important, because it's a lot of times it's a bottom down and top down, sorry, bottom up and top down approach, but in most companies it's always the top down. So people below are generally, their opinions, their morale is never taken into consideration. So when we talk about a complete culture change, and we'll talk more about it later, we look at both the approaches, which is top down as well as bottom up, because every individual in an organization makes a difference when it comes to the today, where you look at an organization as a whole rather than just looking at a particular segment, maybe see it in an organization. And also, I think that has a lot of linkage to this piece, which I think Dr. Hanan would like to speak, right?
Yeah, so we're not only benchmarking the organization, like Firuzi said, from the bottom up, because we have to understand the mindset and what kind of culture, or the individuals that are making that culture in your organization, but how well and how important the mindset and the behavior or habits that they're keeping. That is also, without you knowing, can be affecting the organization. And we'll speak about that in a little bit, in a couple more slides, how these minor things can actually accumulate and is under the radar, that we don't actually see, that are actually affecting the complete organizational culture. So, yeah. The second is the type of culture you want. The first step actually is to benchmark where you are. And the second step is where you want to be as a culture. And we'll explain the different types of cultures, the bad culture, what that means, and the good culture, what that means, or what culture you want to be at. And really just filling the gaps in between from a point A, where the culture that you have now, to the culture you want to be. It's very simple. So this is the 3-step formula. I mean, it looks simple, and it's very achievable, and it's not it's not time consuming. It's not going to halt your operation of your organization. These are actually tools and apps and questionnaires, if you will, that really brings that data all together and gives you a statistic of actually where you are in the culture journey or change. Firuzi?
Yeah. So for me, I look at it, again, when I work with the corporates, I look at it as a journey, right? For any journey, you really clearly need to have two milestones, if I could ask you to plot those. So for any journey, you need a starting point and you need a desired point. And I think what we do is, through our tools, we take our clients, every corporate clients, through that journey. So we help you define what your current culture is, which is your point A. And then we do a needs analysis, we customize your solution to see where you would like to be. What is the kind of culture you would like to have? And I'm sure you would agree that if you're at point A and you need to be at point B, clearly there's a strategy that you would need to move to point B. So that's the kind of journey that we offer.
Yeah, yeah, it's what you're talking benchmarking, yeah. Firuzi, you hear me?
Yeah,
So lead on this one if you can't hear me. They could hear you?
Yeah, so I think people can hear me. I'll talk about it. So when you talk about benchmarking, I think a lot of companies when you look at international standards. So what we bring to the table is a very international standard benchmarking system where it's globally recognized. It's an award-winning system. It's a completely automated tool that we use. It can be used now in this virtual and agile working environment. And when we talk about benchmarking, we're talking about, again, how do you compare versus, people in your industry? So, where are you? So we've worked with large organizations like Emirates Airlines, Citibank, and we continue to work with larger names. And so if those who are really wanting to change and move to a better place with their teams and their staff, then that's what we help you do as a benchmark for the complete culture change program that we would bring to your table. And then, of course, there's a wellness piece, which I think you would like to talk about.
Yes. So, like I mentioned, it's all the same formula, right? Where you are now and where you want to be in your health and well-being. And we come in as well, and we analyze, we benchmark where your culture, where your employees are in their health and well-being, and we take them as well through a 6-step process that not only improves their immune system, reduces absenteeism, and reduces, obviously in that case would be reducing insurance costs, but most importantly they're more focused, more energized, more productive. Their performance will go up, which creates a bigger and better not only advantage for themselves in their own health and well-being and for their own life, but also for the organization's success. So it's a win-win situation when you have your actual employees who are really productive, really creative, innovative, and we all know we need that in this crisis and beyond. We have to have that innovation and creativity to get out of the situation and improve the ROI or the situation for the organization. So these steps are very simple. The employee understands, gets the learning, gets the information, and starts to implement them. And like I said, they're not. It's not rocket science, really. They're simple things that, when they implement, they compound and be able to improve their wellness and their health as well. So there are 5 organizations going from the blame culture, the multi-directional culture, the live and let live culture, the brand congruent culture, and the leadership enriched culture. The last 2 is the optimal 2 cultures that you want to be at as an organization. Unfortunately, the statistics show that a lot of the organizations, not just in UAE, but across the world, are in the bottom of the barrel blame culture. And we're going to go and define what that blame culture looks like, what's actually happening with your employees, and why you need to get out of it. Firuzi?
Yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit more about the blame culture. So on the face of it, blame culture just sounds like a very simple, okay, it's a kind of a culture, but there are a lot of deep-rooted ripple effects to it. So for example, when there's a blame culture, people's morale is low because you're not encouraging people to take an initiative to be proactive, for example, because a lot of times there's a fear that if I'm proactive and I do something, and if somebody doesn't like it, then I might get blamed for it. And again, it's about taking responsibility. If something does go wrong, again, there's a fear of owning up because they get penalized. So a lot of things get hidden under the rug, for example, where you would never know that things are going wrong with your organization. So, and I think because 90% of companies do have blame culture, it's the fear that is being created in the staff. And I think most organizations, if they want to make the culture better, they underestimate the power of culture. Because I think if you start empowering, if you have more leaders versus managers, and you allow people to make mistakes, of course, tolerable mistakes in a safer environment, there's more trust, there's more openness, there's more honesty. And that leads to more productivity, that leads to more ROI, that leads to more profits. So on the face of it, it just sounds like, okay, it's a kind of a culture. But I think if you actually dig up the roots and you see the ripple effects, it actually impacts the company's bottom line and the ROI and the profitability. So that is why I think we've come up with this fantastic organized tool and program to help organizations evaluate completely free your current culture. So you do need to know what your current culture is like. And that's what we are offering you, a completely free audit to start with. But we'll talk more about it later because we've got more surprises later, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I want to show everyone this particular slide, which is, I think, is very, very interesting because a gentleman in the US did actually a big study, and he went and spoke to 57 countries, organizations across 57 countries, from CEO to the janitors to PhDs to high school dropouts, the different multiple cultures like we have here in UAE, actually, different religions, different customs, young and old, and all. He asked them only one question: what is an ideal work environment? And they all came back, not more salary, not more pay, not more vacation, not more holiday, but actually one thing that was at the top of their list, and that we already spoke about a minute ago, Firuzi, and that is trust. Trust is very, very important and very key to an organizational culture that wants to have improvement, to be in those top two that we mentioned about leadership culture. So, yeah, go ahead, Firuzi. You wanted to mention, yeah.
Yeah, no, so I just wanted to say that trust is really, really important in any organization because, again, trust is also between colleagues, between peers, between line managers and his teams, between, two line managers across different departments, different teams. So I think trust exists at different level in an organization with different people. And again, with most organizations that I work with, I realize that a lot of people work in silos. So a lot of people come back and say, for example, to me, that I do all the work and my boss takes full credit for it. For example, never gives me credit. Again, there's no trust there. I also hear a lot of times where staff say, I'm expected to do a job, but my manager doesn't even give me the full information. So I have partial or part information based on which I have to figure things out and I have to deliver. So all that actually people don't understand and realize that it impacts the bottom line and the productivity because it's a lack of trust. And if that is the kind of culture that you have at the moment, it's really, really not a healthy culture to have, first of all, but also it impacts staff health and well-being because it causes stress, it causes a lot of unnecessary pressures on staff, which I think you will connect later on wealth and well-being perspective, right? As to how it would actually impact their health and well-being.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, this is the exact culture, the blame culture, that creates a lot of stress, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of, situations where once they start developing this actually, I speak about in halology as one of the chronic biodisruptors that is in the environment. And as we all know, we spent more at work in our organization than we spend at home. So that environment has to be nurturing, has to be supportive in order for us to be fully engaged, fully having creativity, innovation, and helping and supporting to drive the organization forward. So if we look at, like I mentioned, 60% of all organizations across the world are in blame culture. This is the bottom of the barrel, if you will. It's an American expression, sorry. Bottom of the barrel culture that it affects, and these are some of the characteristics that I want to show you. Like I said, trust is very, very, very little trust. They act in the culture, that is the organization, people in the organization act in self-interest only. They don't take many risks. They don't usually speak their mind. They don't come up with many new ideas. They're only paycheck driven. They're inefficient. They're stagnating in growth. They avoid responsibility, and they have a high level of fear and anxiety. And that's where the health issues start to crawl in for your employees. The values and the primary values of a blame culture are to avoid conflict and self-preservation. And as Firuzi said, they don't speak their mind. They're not interactive. They see something happening that's actually hurting the organization, but because of the culture that they're already in, that they don't speak up because of fear or avoiding responsibility and having these little trust or interest and just doing what they need to do just for that paycheck. That's where a lot of the organizations get in trouble because of this blame culture, and they don't see they see a decline and failure in their profits and sales, and not only that, they see a rise in absenteeism, immune system going down, and everything, the ripple effect that happens from this kind of culture. Firuzi, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add something on the paycheck driven. So when you talk about staff being paycheck driven, you're talking about the morale and the motivation levels being really, really low, because you really don't want a culture where somebody's just coming and doing a 9 to 5 job and does not want to go. And I use the word want to go the extra mile, because either he's not encouraged enough to do it because there's no trust and there's a blame culture, or he's not motivated enough to give his best. And you don't really want to run an organization where people want money from you as paycheck but do not want to contribute to your bottom line. So that's why evaluating culture is really important, because you want to identify this. And I think I've been saying this in my previous sessions also, that it's a bit like when you have an elbow pain, you go to the doctor, and then suddenly the doctor asks you to conduct a few tests, and you realize, the person realizes that the person has cancer. And then suddenly the elbow pain has no meaning, because there's a deeper issue that you need to cure, right? So you do want, maybe on the face of it, you might think it's just an elbow pain, so you can sweep it under the rug. You don't need to do a culture test, for example. But if you do the test, you might realize it's more than an elbow pain, and it's probably a cancer that's spreading in your organization that needs treatment. So that's a little bit on the culture, the complete culture change opportunity that we are opening up to people for, that don't just sit saying, I have a small pain, get it tested and see if there's a deep-rooted problem that you need to cure right now.
So what do we bring for, what is the ROI, if you will, or advantages of complete culture change? So we reduce employees' chronic biodisruption, which we touched base upon on a previous slide, and that's what's going to alleviate the fear, the anxiety, and anything that's stressful in their environment that's causing on a silent, under the radar issues of their health and well-being, right? So it's going to really decrease their absenteeism, increase performance and production. You're going to also see decrease in insurance costs, because if you have healthy employees, you don't need higher costs for their illnesses and diseases. So we're going to improve their trust, as we mentioned, which is key in a organization, for proactivity and engagement. Leadership, this is very important. Leadership perception gaps is very important. We're going to touch base upon that in a minute. We're going to give tools, something called colored brain, to improve teamwork. So just to let you know a little bit about this color brain. So I'm green brain, and Firuzi is red brain. So Firuzi works in a linear, like so kind of a way. I'm very multitasking. I'm like, very, I have to finish this, and I can finish this and this and that, right? So that's what a green brain does. And Firuzi is more like, okay, let's finish this first, and we do this, and we do this, and we do that, right? So, but what actually, we work great together, yeah? Because she, as a green brain, she brings me to the task at hand that we need to finish. Because when you give 100% to one task, it's better than giving 5, 5, 5, and 10, and 10, and you spread yourself thin, hence not having a great project ending or outcome with that. So it's very important to understand these kind of clarity, understanding of how people operate. It's not a behavior analysis, but it's actually a genetic and scientific analysis to understand who you put with whom, that work together, that produce the best effects. So, yeah, go ahead.
Sure. No, so the thing about brain, color brain is within your organization also, when you run teams, you would probably have different people having different color brains and being able to contribute to your organization in a different manner. So this program also will help you encourage and find out those. So you could encourage those kinds of people. You can identify them and encourage them to do what they like or what they want to do more of, right? And the working styles, because I think today it's all about how you can work together.
Yes. And last is we want you to be building resilience as a complete culture, as a complete organization to any vulnerable, unpredictable situation and decreasing the risk so that when we are out of this pandemic, we're able to bounce back. And Firuzi has a wonderful strategy that we're going to help each and every one with in making sure that happens for you. And it's very strategic, just like a red brain would do, is that would not only complement the mutually important wellness and well-being and health of your complete organization, but also the ROI, the sales, the profits that goes along with importance for an organization. So tell us your strategy, Firuzi.
Awesome. So what we want to do is we want to start building resilience, and actually corporates should start building resilience on a continuous basis going forward, because COVID is just an eye opener for most people who were not expecting. But I think there are many more setbacks that will come, and I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of us recognize that. So what we've done is we've launched the 1-1-1 challenge. Now, what do we mean by the 1-1-1 challenge? So we are working with organizations to get them ready, and I repeat it, to get them ready for the first day, the first week, and the first month of the new normal. So I call it the new normal. So when all this is behind us, the world is going to be a different world. It's going to be a bigger world, a better world, and a much different world to live in and to succeed in. And to help you succeed, we'd like to build that resilience in you from now on. We'd like to work with you, to partner with you, and to help you bring your staff and scale your businesses to get you ready to face the new normal on the first day, the first week, and the first month of the new normal. So we are launching the 1-1-1 challenge, and we open it up to all the organizations and all the corporates who want to come to us to do audit. Please test it and see if you have the resilience to come out on the other side a winner and a successful winner.
Amazing. That's why she's awesome in this partnership. So trust and proactivity and engagement. Again, we can't stress how trust is important. If I could give you one example of how it could be even life-saving. So there was a hospital in Singapore, and they have this no blame culture where the employees trust their management and vice versa. And they were able to, if for example, one nurse actually gave the wrong medication to one of the patients, and because there was no blame, and there was a lot of trust, she actually went and told, of course, her management and her superiors to, look, I did this and it was wrong. I made a mistake. Okay, so they were actually then able to give reduce the chances of that patient getting hurt from the wrong medication and actually save that patient's lives. So imagine in any situation where you would have a blame culture like this, or fear, or no trust in your teamwork, no one's going to be engaging or being proactive to help the organization succeed. So teamwork, trust, being trusted, being accountable, you're going to gain a clarity, know what you need to do and to succeed. You're going to have a supportive environment across all departments and all hierarchies, and it's fun. So what we do with these tools and initiatives, we make it fun. We make it what we call gamification. Because in science anyway, and research, it shows that when you gamify or you make something fun, the people learn it faster and it stays with them without actually, studying or giving them a whole manual. Okay, now go do this, right? So it's very interactive, it's very fun, and it's very gamified. So it allows your entire organization to come as a community and move forward with these tools and techniques. Firuzi.
Yeah, so I think proactivity is really important because I think, again, it goes down to the culture where a lot of line managers, for example, and if they are managers and they're not leaders, they do not allow people or teams to actually engage with the organization, with others, with teams in a proactive manner. So what happens is you're actually killing creativity. So a lot of organizations, large organizations, because we spoke about benchmarking, if you see the organizations like 3M, Gulf, and 3M and others, Microsoft, Google, all of them have this culture where they encourage people to create something new, and then they actually reward people, for ideas that are being implemented and for ideas that are being worked upon. And I think that's what proactivity brings, because you actually create a culture where creativity thrives and succeeds in that kind of a culture. And so I think it's really, really important. So if you don't have all of these elements, which are the winning formula, I call them the winning formula. If you don't have these elements of winning formula in your culture at the moment, then it's a really sick culture, as in sick, as in a sick person who's a dying person, right? And so you're looking at a really dying culture. So how do you then increase your ROI, and how do you increase your productivity, and how do you increase your morale? So again, like I said, it's a very ripple effect. On the face of it, it just sounds like it's culture, but I think culture drives a lot of undercurrents, if I may, or successes, if I may, that helps an organization grow or go under, because of the way the people are being managed and the way people think and behave. So I think this is a really, really, engagement is really important, because I think people need to engage. Companies need to encourage that kind of engagement, which at the moment I don't think a lot of organizations do, because it's a lot of top-down approach. So we as managers give you instructions, you follow. That's mostly the culture.
This is my favorite, leadership perception gap. So this was funny when the best way I could bring this is, like, for example, I think, and I'm sure Firuzi thinks she's a great leader in our organizations, right? But the truth of the matter is, if you actually ask the culture, they might have a few different opinions, right? So what I've got is I'm a perfectionist. I like things to be done a certain way, and so on and so forth. So even though we're doing our best and we think from a leadership point of view that we're actually driving our culture and our culture agrees with us, we do have to measure these perception gaps, because you might think you're a great leader, or your leadership or management might think that they're a great leader, but there's certain things, there's certain gaps that you might be not focusing on, that might be actually affecting your entire culture. So we not only look at your culture from the employees and organizations, but we actually look at the leadership of that organization as well. So Firuzi, everybody think you're a great leader.
Yeah, so I think both our teams are on this call and they can reply for that. But yeah, I think I'm a great leader. But I think that's the thing, right? So again, I teach a lot of leadership skills and leadership training programs I run for a lot of large corporates. And 9 out of 10 times, most managers, and I would say again, managers believe that they are good leaders. But when you take them out of the room, right, and you have a discussion with the team do not think so. So there's a clear difference between a manager and a leader, and there's a clear difference in the culture of the organization that has managers and has leaders. Because leaders will always lead and people will follow. And that's where the engagement, the proactivity, the trust, all of that comes in. For as long as you have managers who uses the tell approach, I tell you and you do what I tell you to do, then you're killing the culture of your organization. So I just wanted to take a moment to share a very nice video that I've recently come across. It's a very simple video of a pack of wolves who are actually following the leader, or so called the leader. But the leader was so selfish that all of them were thirsty, but he was the only one sitting and drinking water. And so the pack of wolves basically were sitting behind him and waiting and waiting and waiting. And the leader wouldn't allow them to drink till he finished. In the distance, they see a very small pack, smaller than what their pack was, and they see the leader digging the hole to bring more water out for the team. And so they really show that the big pack of wolves all graduate to the small team only because the other guy was a leader who was thinking of his team before him. And I think that's the biggest difference in a leader and a manager. So again, you don't want to believe that you have leaders. You want to get the culture checked and tested to make sure that you do have leaders. And if you don't have leaders and you have managers, you do want to make sure that you transition them from a manager to a leader. Because I think that's in the interest of the organization and the leaders and the managers and the staff.
Absolutely. I love that story. Thank you. So we mentioned this app or this scientific approach that we talked about a minute ago about colored brain for improved teamwork. So there's like I said, the green brain versus the red brain and blue, and this is where there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of misunderstanding between well, they don't understand me, or they just don't get me, or they think a different way, or there's a disconnect. But once we implement these tools and then they understand, oh, Firuzi could say, oh, Hanan, you're green, that's why you're doing X, Y, and Z instead of my way of doing it in A, B, C from the beginning, right? You're starting from the end, and so we all have our experiences. We all have our, growing up from a certain parents, the way we were raised. So we all come from certain ways and perceptions that we do things, and we think it's common sense. I mean, like it should be done this way, right? And this is where we get in trouble with our teamwork, because they might have a really creative way or a different idea that might benefit, but because they're doing it in a different way, you say, oh no, it doesn't go with the team, or it doesn't go with our mission or our vision, and so on and so forth. So this tool is very transforming. I don't, not because we give it to you, but or it's our tool that we bring to your culture. But let me tell you, I mean, in our family, my kids understand how I operate. I understand how they operate. There's a lot of, it alleviates a lot of disconnect and a lot of issues that might be misunderstood because of the way one person is doing something versus the way I do something. Yeah. So this tool is very impactful especially in improving your teamwork, because it's just like, no wonder you were doing it this way, because you're, red brain, or you're green brain, so no wonder you're doing it this way. So it's a lot of aha moments. I could tell you a story, if you will. We were working with an organization, and the boss is actually purple brain. So purple brain, they like a lot of detail, they like a lot of information, they like if there was a summary of a project that they would ask for, they want like a manual of many pages of all the detail of that project. Now green brain, we would come up with one piece of paper, everything on there. So, and that's good. I mean, I'm saving you a lot of time to read and all this. I'm giving you all the good from that manual and just one piece of paper. But then the boss is like, what is this one piece of paper? That's not giving me what I need, So so me now understanding my boss who needs detail, I will go and do that strategy for him that alleviate a lot of the friction and frustrations, if you will. Yeah. So it's very simple. I mean, just understanding the way you gain clarity and the way you process information and the way you operate in a teamwork really alleviates a lot of the pressure and misunderstanding and frustrations, if you will. Firuzi?
I also think it builds efficiencies and synergies amongst people and teams, because, like you said, a lot of times we just think what we like and what our brain tells us, and we just know that style. But I think understanding holistically what different brains are and how different people think, you will now be able to put yourself, if you're a manager or a leader, I would say it that way, you'd be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes and think, okay, if this person gave me one piece of paper, why did this person give me one piece of paper? Because maybe my brain is different. So I'm expecting more, which I have probably not communicated, right? So for a person, that person who's going to give you one piece of paper needs to be told that, listen, I need a 5-page strategy, a detailed strategy, because that's what I want to review. So I think it also increases efficiency, synergies, productivity, communication among people, understanding amongst people. And I think it builds a very healthy culture, because you start to communicate more, you start to understand each other more, and you start to deliver to people's expectations. And I think in any corporate, the delivery to expectations really important, because I think that is what the driver is, right? That you need to deliver on time, accurate. So I think this will help you bring it all together and make sure that the teamwork is there. It builds those teamwork, parameters that you need to know of and work.
Yes, absolutely. So resilience and to vulnerable, unpredictable culture and de-risking that. So like we said, the 111 action or challenge that Firuzi was just sharing right now is ideal in this situation. So what are you going to do after COVID 1 week or 1 day? What are we going to do 1 week after COVID? What are we going to do? You need to have a plan and a strategy so that when the plane lands, you're running, right? So you don't have to, okay, so, take that time and now analyze everything. No, you're prepared for that landing. You're prepared for moving the organization and not failing. Yeah, Firuzi?
Yeah, so I'm also a compliance trainer. They say that de-risking and vulnerabilities are two things every organization should think of, whether it's compliance, whether it's culture, whatever it is, for the simple reason that a lot of times when you talk about de-risking, it's a very reactive approach. So something happens and you look at managing a problem, which is more like firefighting in a corporate world, where there's a problem and you try and get over the problem. So it's more like, reacting to a certain problem. And so what we do is through this tool of the complete culture change that we give you the audit, we actually identify the areas of vulnerabilities for you in the culture. So we tell you as a proactive approach going forward, what are the areas that you really need to focus on that might bring the organization down, right? That might bring your people down. And for de-risking, you want to start de-risking beforehand, before you come across that risk, right? And you want to identify those vulnerabilities and you want to have an action plan. So that's a really important thing, because like I said earlier, one setback, we expect many more setbacks as corporate. How are you resilient enough to manage all of those setbacks? And that is what we will do, overcome all of those future setbacks.
So like Firuzi said, here's the surprise, right? So if you were to Google right now on finding how much a basic audit would cost, it would cost you between $4,000 to $12,000. And that would only include just determining the organizational health, not the halalogy, not the wellness, identify the root cause of many of the efficiency issues, help to set a direction for further, growth and evolution for the organization, identify levels of engagement, identify loss. But we give you, the statistics and the number that are coming together gives you a complete picture, 360 degrees of where everything is happening, why it's happening, why the culture, where the gaps are, and how to actually start implementing. We actually give that report to you. So the gift, right? Firuzi, you want to talk about the gift? You like giving gifts?
Yes. Yes, we like giving a lot of gifts. So, like we said, the gift is we're giving away almost $1 million worth of audits for free, because we'd like to contribute to the organizations who are going through a challenge with this COVID. So this COVID situation has hit a lot of organizations. A lot of organizations are panicking at the moment, and there is a fear for the organizations and the staff. Fear of job losses, fear of salary reductions. Organizations are shutting down, are cutting down on costing and stuff like that. So to support and to partner with our corporates, what we're doing is we're offering $1 million worth of free audits, and that's of course first come first basis. So because it's a global initiative that we are running across various countries in I think over 80-90 countries. And so at the end, what we will do is we will give you a process. We'll take you through a process that you would need to complete. And once you've completed that process, it will take you directly, it will connect you to Dr. Hanan and me. And from there on, we will actually come on board with you, partner with you to see how we can make your culture a better culture, how we could offer the audit process and all of that. So yeah, let's take them to the process then. And
Yeah.
what do they do?
So how you would also be getting a halalogy, the whole wellness and health, how to improve not only your culture's profits and sales, but also your culture's health and well-being. And during this epidemic and beyond, you really, it brings focus. That's what they're focused on, because like humans, when we have something that's threatened, now we're like, oh, now we have to take care of our health. How do we, now we're washing our hands like, many times a day. We're, social distancing and everything, because we realize that the best cure is prevention. So with this implementation of the complete culture, not only are you bringing your culture from a blame culture to a leadership culture, but also having the people who are healthy and well to be a part of this initiative to the organization's success. So how do they apply, Firuzi?
All right, so there is a link which we are going to be posting along with this video on our Facebook group. So we have a Facebook group called Complete Culture Change. We're going to be posting all of our live videos over there along with this link that you can see on the screen. And all you need to do is there's a set of questions that you would need to answer. And the reason we ask you for those questions is because we really, really want to work with people who are genuinely interested in implementing something, some kinds of actions, and actually changing the culture. So it's a short questionnaire of 10 questions only. And following the questionnaire, you will get an opportunity to book some time with us, with Dr. Hanan and me, where we will get onto a call with you. We will do a needs analysis. We will see what your current culture is, what needs to be done, because it's an individual customized solution that we are creating for each corporate. And all of that is completely free, provided, like I said, you take the trouble of completing all the questions. So what I would urge you to do is share the link with as many people as you can, with as many organizations as you can, because at this point of time, I think we are all trying to contribute to the bigger good of the society. So we're all trying to, help the community, help the society, and this is our initiative and our way of helping the society. And you can play a big part in that by just forwarding the link to others, right? Who can also benefit. So let's make this world a better world. Let's make this society and community a better community. And let's help each other get out of this and successfully on the other side when all this is over.
Yes, absolutely. And not only that, we have the resilience to any future epidemic and not be so vulnerable, and have our, not only the economy be affected, but also our health and well-being be affected, and have that, resilience and protection from any unforeseen pandemic like we're experiencing right now. So without any, if anybody has any questions, I can't really see on my slides here because I have too many windows open. I don't know, Firuzi, can you see if there's any questions that we could answer at this point?
So no, I'm looking at the chat. If there's anybody on the chat, if you have any questions, we are happy to take on the questions at the moment, because with this, we've come to the end of the presentation. And basically like I said, we just want to position ourselves with the opportunity for all of you to grab, which is out there. But if there are any questions, you can please post them. At the moment, I can't see anything. So I think our presentation is very good, because no questions means a good presentation. Okay, 1 minute. So there is a question. Can you explain the colored brain again, please?
Oh, okay. So let me go back to that slide. Yeah.
Thank you, Temur, for the question. Very good question. We will answer that right now.
Okay, so colored brain is a genetic way that our brain processes informations and gains clarity. So, what a lot of people, mistake it for behavior, and it's not a behavior analysis. It's actually a genetic part of who you are and how your brain processes information. So, like, for example, if you're working in a team, I have brown eyes and my colleague has green eyes. So you can't go to your colleague and say, well, in order for us to work together, you have to have brown eyes, right? It's impossible. But that's what we're doing every single day in our teamwork, right? We're expecting people to adapt and see your perception through your glasses, and they're seeing it through a different color glasses. So if we were to see these colored brains as different color glasses, if I see the world or my perception through green glasses versus Firuzi, for example, who sees it through red glasses, we're going to always have different opinions, different, disconnect, or we're not going to work well together, and it's going to cause a lot of frustration, and it's a waste of time and energy. So this tool will give you the understanding, okay, this is the way Hanan works. She's green brain. This is the way she operates. It's nothing personal. It's nothing against you. It's just her way and perception of gaining clarity. Versus Firuzi, for example, she's red brain. So if I'm communicating, and that's actually how we work together, by the way. For me to communicate with Firuzi, I have to give her the email that she receives from me has to have a headline, and it has to have some information content about what the email, introduction about what the email is about. Then under that, I have to have bullet points of the action steps that we need to take in a strategy of working together. And at the end, some opinions or ideas for solutions. This is Firuzi. And then her email, she needs, okay, hey, this is my idea. What do you think? 2 lines, 3 lines it works for me, being green brain. Okay. So I'm just giving you, an example. But that if your boss is red brain or purple brain and you send a 3-line email, that's going to be like, what? So this allows not only your boss, you and everybody in your team to understand each other from that perception. I'm wearing Firuzi's glasses, red glasses, when I send her the email, or Firuzi wears the green glasses when she sends me the email. We step into each other's perception and how they analyze, and really, really is impactful and really alleviates a lot of the frustration, loss of energy, loss of time, without the added stress and fear and everything else that goes along with it. So I hope that answers your question. Anything else?
Yeah, so I think, like we said earlier, Taimur, I think, like we said earlier on, this also helps you understand your style versus your either your boss or your team style, right?
Yes.
So if there's certain areas where you need to explain a little bit more to identify, for the others to identify your style so that they can meet with your expectations, or you can meet with your manager's expectations, it's nice to know this in an organization. So like Hanan said, Dr. Hanan said that, I work in a very different style. So when she sends me a mail, I'm lost if there's no subject line, if there's no title, if there's no headline, if there's no request for what I need to do. I'll always call her and say, so what am I supposed to do with this mail? And she's like, sorry, I didn't explain. Okay, let me explain. So, yeah. And this is what happens in the organization most times, right? Because a manager or a boss will just tell you to do something and you're wondering, so what am I going to do with this? And what should I do? So this is for you to understand how your boss expects work from you. And if you're a boss, how much communication should you give your teams for them to deliver to you to your expectation? So I think, again, that's another part of our tool that will help you understand. And that's why I said it helps bring synergies together. It helps bring teamwork together. You tend to work more cohesively rather than disjointly in silos. If that answers, Taimur, I hope it answers your question, yeah?
Yes. Any other questions?
No, I can't see anything in the chats. Oh, wait, hold on. So
yes, it's clear now. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad.
Thanks. So thank you. No problem, Terry.
It always works when we give a personal.
All right. So it's our pleasure. Okay, great. So I think we're done. And if there are no more questions, I think we're good to go. Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody from both Dr. Hanan and me. And please contribute to the community, to the society by sharing the link and following us so that, we can give you more content around whatever you need to know.
Awesome. And wish you guys a very safe and healthy Ramadan. Is happening this week, whoever celebrates. And God bless all of you. And hopefully we're going to go out of this with a bang and start, moving forward. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you, Firuzi, and allowing me to share our personal working partnership stories together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.